Jeremiah 51:9. We would have healed Babylon. She is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go everyone into his own country. For her judgment reacheth unto heaven. It is lifted up even to the skies. Kol Halal Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakah Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles, double honors and to the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers, the would-be judges, set up in heaven to rule here on earth in the stead and under the power of King Yahweh Shai, who the world fraudulently and ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth among the heathen that have the appearance of the heathen, that is not a black only thing. The Israelites are scattered among all people. And to the few Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you with another lesson in truth.
Israel bombed the Catholic Church in Gaza, and that an entire population is being wiped out as they continue their aggressive war in Gaza. My amendment would strike $500 million in funding for nuclear-armed Israel's missile defense system. The U.S. already provides Israel with $3.8 billion annually in foreign aid. $3.8 billion, that's a lot of money. Additionally, the April 2024 security supplemental included $8.7 billion for Israel. Even though Israel, nuclear-armed Israel, has universal health care for their citizens and subsidized college for their citizens. They're able to provide that. However, here in America, we're $37 trillion in debt. My amendment will ensure an America First Department of Defense, and that is exactly what we need and we haven't had for a very long time. Israel.
And this is the reason why there's going to be the Egyptian.
Israel.
One of the reasons why there's going to be the Egyptian versus the Egyptian. That was the voice of Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's been very boisterous in America First, which Trump ran on. And it's clear that with Trump and every president before him, it has not been America First, it's Israel First, and they cannot hide it anymore. She's speaking in this video on the screen. I'm going to play it, Lord's will. I'll play this video, and she's going to speak about how the lobbyists walk in and out, or the one before this one, actually, how the lobbyists get everything. Well, there's only one country that had lobbyists in America that controls America's politicians and policy. All right. And it's being made obvious. All right. And it makes you think, how there's no more wisdom in teaming, because America is destroying itself, as it progresses forward until it's to this system that it's trying to do, is destroying itself. All right. So in Babylon, as a matter of fact, let's go back to Jeremiah 51 and 7. Babylon have been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand that made the earth drunken, and the nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad. So now the nations are seeing, and they're mad with America. And it's clear to see from everyone around the world that America is not ruled by Americans, but ruled by Israelis. That they have a grip on everything here in America, from political stuff to the porn industry. They lead in all of that. Jeremiah 58, 51 and 8. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain. If so, she may be healed. But see, if so, but there is no balm to heal America of its full-blown HIV/AIDS, of its fentanyl issues, which are really, for the most part, mostly white issues. Fentanyl destroyed them. That's why they're creating all these new policy where they want to, make America great again, make America white again, because the true goal is to bring J.D. Vance in. They want to get rid of Trump. That's why Trump is being put on Front Street, and J.D. Vance is extremely racist. And both his parents go back to the Civil War, and he's been on film. That video is still on the internet saying that the laws and statutes that were created for America were created for white Americans. Basically what he says. The Constitution is for them, and that all the rights for America should be only for them. Why do you think they're so vehemently and clearly being racist toward their immigration policy? Because they're not snatching up all the white nationals that are from foreign countries at all. They're not doing that, or that are parents of immigrants. They're only doing it to people of color. All right, and like Marjorie said, Americans can't afford to pay their they can't afford to pay their medical bills, and Amalek, you know, these Israelis have just put forth policy to make them free of that, while all the aid that they get from America, while Americans are struggling, Israelis get subsidized college. They get subsidized and they get free medical.
So Trump just reversed the rule that our medical bills will go back on our credit report. Just as people are losing their Medicaid and Medicare. You know what this means, don't you? If you can't afford your medical bills due to high co-pays, high deductibles, no insurance, your credit report is fucked. And when you start getting healthy again, and you got a job, they can come garnish your damn wages. You know, I wouldn't have voted Democrat for shit in this election. But there was one thing that Biden did that I agreed with. And that was making that rule that those medical bills wouldn't be on your credit report.
And see, do you think that Biden did that for so-called Black or Hispanic Americans, Haitian Americans, Chinese Americans? No, Asian Americans are being rounded up and snatched up just like the so-called Hispanics, and you know, and now they went after the Haitians. Look, you Negroes that are from here, you're next on that list. All right. And so they want to put so-called white America first. And I've been telling you that I've been saying it for quite some time, that there is a war between Esau, Edom. Amalek is warring against white Christianity. That's why the rabbis keep telling the truth about Edomite, about Christianity, that they are Esau, Edom, that Western Christianity is Esau, Edom, that America is Esau, Edom, Asaph, as they say, or Esaph. I've heard them use both terms. Some of them say Asaph, some of them say Esaph. But I have at least, I have a minimum of several videos where rabbis are saying that, all right? Just between critical race historical facts, not theory, and GMS Maccabean spirit. Between those two videos, I probably have maybe 20 videos at minimum of rabbis referring to Western Christianity and Roman Christianity, the Christians in Europe, as being Asaph, saying that American is an extension of Rome and Rome is Esaph, which is pretty much what the Bible says, was what the Hebrew Israelites teach, because it is the truth. The flip side of that coin is that the Amalekites, the Ish, the converts, they're Edom too. All right, don't forget about that controversy of Zion. These people that say that they are, you know, the people, and they're not. Okay. So let's grab another scripture. Pull up this next video. Because the world literally has been given into the hand of the wicked man. It has. This is Job 22:18. And we need deliverance from it. Okay? It says, "Yet he filled their houses with good things, but the counsel of the wicked is far from me. The righteous see it and are glad, and the innocent laugh them to scorn." So we're laughing at them, and we can see this. And guess what? Even the heathen are beginning to see it, and they're complaining about it, man. All right? The earth is given into their hands, and through their policy, they're causing other people to fall. All right? Through their policy. Remember that. This is Job 9:24. And it reads, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? And, Numbers tell you that Amalek is the wicked is identified as Edom in the Bible. And Amalek is the chief of that. They're the first of the nations. And Amalek rules the world from inside of America. All right? They control the policy here in America. Right here, George Galloway is informing you of that as well. Just as Marjorie Greene Taylor is informing you of that fact. All right? The world is ruled from inside America by the Amalekites. All right? Causing great injuries to everyone else, including the American citizens themselves, and they're tired of it. That's how you know that the Isaiah 19:19 is going to happen, man. This is Sirach 10:8, and it reads, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. All right, so wealth never just goes away. It's translated. It's transferred to someone else. And the Israelis are transferring American wealth to themselves and to their businesses and to their new power structure for their NWO, which is going to fail. All right. So let's let Mr. George Galloway speak.
All in all, the Zionist settler state has put Donald Trump in a whole lot of trouble. There can be little doubt that the two reasons why the Epstein files have now been suppressed, at least until somebody leaks them, is that Donald Trump himself is personally implicated in the Epstein affair, which should come scarcely as a surprise given the long decade of close relationship between the two men, and given the cut of both of their jibs, given the predilections written all over the faces of both men and in 10,000 photographs. It will come as no surprise to anyone that in his New York days, Donald Trump was a hedonistic, sybaritic, fornicating individual who was a...
Well, let's look at that word. He was a hedonistic, sybaritic, fornicating. Fornication literally means unlawful sex. And what is unlawful sex? Tag teaming, triple teaming, underaged, someone else's wife. Adultery also falls into fornication, because if you are lying with the woman who belongs to another man, that would be adultery, which falls right into that fornicating thing. If you're doing, animal stuff, that falls right into that. If you're doing same sex, all right, abominable sex, that's basically what fornicating is. And fornicating can be done spiritually as well as sexually. So let's look up this word hedonism. I pulled it up. All right, and this is from the online etymology dictionary. And it says hedonism, all right, the doctrine of Aristotle, Cyrenaic school of Greek philosophers, that pleasure of the moment is the only possible end. That one kind makes you think about, adrenal, the other word. The pleasure is not to be preferred to another, that the man should be in interest of the pleasure, govern his pleasures, not to be governed by them. All right, so he's saying that let's read that again. And that a man in the interest of pleasure govern his pleasures and not be governed by them. And they're completely governed by their pleasures. That's why they do what they do, and then they try to hide it. And Epstein took advantage of that, all right, and got all these American Hollywood people and representatives and senators, et cetera, to come to his island, use Ghislaine Maxwell with them two old biddies of hers to lure these people in and bring in all these other girls and do all sort of fornications, abominable sex. The ethnic doctrine, which only regards the pleasure of the individual, it says, the ethnic doctrine which regards pleasure or happiness as the highest good. So forget the destruction you're doing to a particular young person, a human being. Your pleasure is more important than that. All right. Egotistic heathenism considers only pleasures of the individual. All right. So he is a hedonist, which is what many of your presidents and your leaders have been. And this is from definition from 1806, also from the Etymology Online Dictionary. The reference of I'm gonna have to look that word up. Cyrenaic school of philosophy deals with the ethics of pleasure. Pleasure, delight, enjoyment. A pleasure, a delight, which is related to heat is sweet. So when they say sweet, you know, we get that term from. Wow. Wow. The cognate with Latin suavis from pi, swada ona, suffix, form of root, swad, sweet, pleasant. All right. So when something is good, we say sweet, where it's pleasurable. Meaning one who regards pleasure as a chief goal of life. And that's how a lot of Edomites live and the heathens live. A heathenist, properly the follower of any ethical system in which some sort of pleasure ranks as the highest good. You know, so that child pedo stuff. All right. Yeah. So, you know, Esau, Edom is being put on blast, man. Let's go to the scriptures. This is Psalms 64 and 2, and it says, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked and from the insurrections of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongue like a sword to bend the bows, to shoot their arrows, even a bitter word. So, and you know, they attack you with that bitter word of semantics when you point out their crimes and their wickedness, their policies, okay? When they don't put America first, okay? Or put what's righteous first. All right. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. Oh no, it says that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly they do shoot at them and fear not. And how do they do that? They policy that hinder, suppress, and arrest your development while their people or their way of life gets to go on at basically at vampirism. It's draining yours of life, draining your blood that they may live deliciously. All right. They search out iniquities and they accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. All right. So they really, study you and study your ways. All right. They'll even use your talents, turn them against you or corrupt them and use them for their own. Okay. Let's let Miss Marjorie Taylor Greene speak again.
Become a member of Congress since 2021, we have voted on 22 resolutions for Israel, 22 of them, all kinds of resolutions, denouncing anti-Semitism, supporting Israel. We voted on 22 of those. We never vote on resolutions proclaiming great things about America or defending certain Americans or defending Americans in general. But they have to proclaim Israel. They have to proclaim their faith and loyalty in Israel and how they, Israel is our greatest ally. And it's a statement that has to be made over and over and over again to the point it's becoming like, wait a minute, what about our own country? What about our own people? And we have so many problems here in America. And we talk about this all the time. $37 trillion in debt. Just like you and I were speaking before, our kids' generations. My kids are 22, 25, and 27. And our children's generation, they can't afford rent. They can't afford to buy a house. They can't afford insurance. They can't buy a new car. They can't find a good paying job. They're living month to month, paycheck to paycheck, credit card bills stacked up. And they literally look.
And see, Jake's been living like that all along because of their policy. But now that it's happening to Esau, Edom, that they're destroying each other and themselves by supporting Amalek, now she has a problem with it. When the so-called black community was going through this, no one cared. Now that they're going through it, now it's a problem. But flip side of the coin, she's speaking an absolute truth. This is why so many Americans are complaining and crying. All right? because now they're getting to see what it feels like to have your progress, your heritage arrested, your development arrested, where you can't be autonomously wealth, where you can't afford the things that all the people, these Edomites have centuries head starts on Jacob here in America, as far as being property owners and business owners and et cetera, able to pass on, generational wealth from family to, from son to son, daughter to daughter down the line. And now with that great head start, they're in the same boat that you're in. The Lord is bringing these people down. I'm going to start this again, let it play through, and maybe read a couple more scriptures. And get ready to wrap it. But Babylon is not healed. Babylon is broken, and it's going down, and it's going fast. All right? It's going very fast.
Since I've become a member of Congress since 2021, we have voted on 22 resolutions for Israel, 22 of them. All kinds of resolutions, denouncing anti-Semitism, supporting Israel. We voted on 22 of those. We never vote on resolutions proclaiming great things about America or defending certain Americans or defending Americans in general. But they have to proclaim Israel. They have to proclaim their faith and loyalty in Israel and how Israel is our greatest ally. And it's a statement that has to be made over and over and over again, to the point it's becoming like, wait a minute, what about our own country? What about our own people? And we have so many problems here in America, and we talk about this all the time. $37 trillion in debt. Just like you and I were speaking before, our kids' generations. My kids are 22, 25, and 27. And our children's generation, they can't afford rent. They can't afford to buy a house. They can't afford insurance. They can't buy a new car. They can't find a good paying job. They're living month to month, paycheck to paycheck, credit card bills stacked up. And they literally look to the future going, how am I ever going to realize the American dream? And it seems hopeless for them. But then in Congress, everyone is chasing and pursuing and proclaiming their loyalty to a foreign country.
Yeah, man. All right. She told the absolute brutal truth that no one wants to acknowledge, that no one wants to hear. She also did this, Psalm 64:8, so that they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. All right, so everyone is fleeing away from them. Everyone wants to get away. I just watched a video where the lady was talking about 10 of her biggest sales, houses. I'm trying to remember what she was in the Carolinas, and $1 million+ homes that and she's late, because I said this a decade ago. All right, even more so. But she said that from what she can determine from the home sales and the $1 million home sales through her real estate business, what she's seeing is that the wealthiest Americans are selling their homes and moving abroad. All right, and I told you that years ago, man. All right, because I had a when I came into this truth, all right, in 2007. Actually, in 2006, I woke up to the fact that I was an Israelite and started following the apostles and elders. As soon as they came on the YouTube in 2007, I pretty much stopped watching everybody else and watched them only, and follow, and learn this truth and follow the lead of the men of the Lord. All right, the scripture said you would see thy teachers. 2008. Shortly after I woke up, the crash hit. All right, and I saw the weird things happening financially in 2007, even in 2006. But then the apostles came on and it all made sense, and then the crash came. I thought we'd be out of here. But one thing is that I had a lot of very wealthy clientele, all right, at that time. I was doing it big. I was, at that time as far as my clients. And I lost client after client after client. All right. Some of them later because of the truth, word got out, that, you know, that I was against, you know, Amalek and whatever. It's not even necessarily that I'm against them. I am, but I'm just for the Bible, and they're not for the Bible, and that's the problem. But even before all that was discovered, the wealthiest of the clients, I mean, well, you know, they got insider information. They all started leaving. They all started putting them multi-million-dollar homes, mansions, and apartments. Because, you know, some of them have gigantic homes in the burbs, and then they have the huge penthouses, or they have a home in the city, you know, in the wealthiest neighborhoods in Chicago. They had homes, and they didn't even live in them. That was just their weekend spot. Could you imagine that? You got, you know, a $5 million condo, a $5 million home, okay, on the Gold Coast, near the Magnificent Mile or whatever, in Streeterville, River North, River West, West Loop, South Loop, whatever. And that's just your hangout spot for the weekend. You know, and then your kids start using it. So, you know, your young, barely an adult son is living like Mac Daddy the Player, because he coming in clubbing and stuff, and then bringing, you know, people back to his parents' fancy condo, making it look like he big balling. All right, but that was the American dream. The American dream was exactly that, and now it's turned into a nightmare. All right, it's turned into a nightmare, and it's failing them. All right, the Lord is bringing them to naught. He's bringing the wicked to naught, and as a result of it, I did say I was going to read Isaiah 19, because it's going to bring this to happen. And we'll close with this. This is Isaiah 19:1. It says, "The burden of Egypt, behold, Yahweh rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved out of his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it." All right. So when the Lord shows up on those chariots, on those UAPs or UFOs, and he shows himself to be this ginormous, so-called black man and the angels. All right. All right. But as that happens, the Egyptians are going to go to war with one another. It says, "And I will set the Egyptian against the Egyptians, and there shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, and city against city, and kingdom against kingdom, because they're mad that their dream has turned into a nightmare, and they're going to point fingers." And the problem is right now, you know, they cannot point fingers at so-called black people. All right? They can't even point fingers at so-called Hispanics, because now they're seeing that they needed all those migrant workers. The reason that America is falling is because the policy of Esau, Edom, of white men. All right, and a point that and the fact that America is falling is because they supported Amalek, who for the last 40 years has drained America of its resources, of its money, while making Americans broke and poor, while the small hats are getting free medical care, damn near free college, and all that stuff, dual citizenship, as they, and as they shit on the American citizens. And Marjorie Taylor Greene and Americans like her, they're tired of being the toilet that's being shed on by their own people, which happen to be the ones that wear the small hats and call themselves ish. All right? They have ruined America for the rest of you Edomites. This is why they're about to pew each other. Verse 3, Isaiah 19:3. "And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to idols, and to charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards." So all their witchcraft and wizards, Hillary Clinton and their soothsayers, none of that's going to help them. All right? The left-hand side, which is controlled by Satan, which is controlled by the Lord. Satan is not some rogue entity just running around. He does the will of the Lord, the left and the right-hand side. Our Savior and King is on the right-hand side, right? And Satan controls the left-hand side. There has to be balance. You cannot have good without evil. You cannot have up without down. You can't have cold without hot. All right? That's the balance. The Lord controls both sides. That's why it says in Isaiah 45:7, He creates the light and the darkness, the good and the evil. He, Yahweh, controls those things, makes those things. And he's decided that you Edomites' time are up. All right, so you can't run to the left-hand side to get guidance anymore, because the left-hand side is starting to ignore you and leave you hanging. Call halal Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai Bahasham Rakah Hakwadash Kwam Yasharala Abad Babal.